VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
Ladies and gentlemen, a concern is escalating across this country regarding the AI data centers. This includes those that are presently in use, those that are under construction, and those that are proposed for communities coast to coast. Farmlands that produce our food supply are a key target for these data centers. Electric power is in high demand. Recently, the Daily Caller reported that the lakeside resort communities of the California side of the Lake Tahoe area will need a new energy source by May of 2027 as energy-guzzling data centers keep springing up on the Nevada side of the lake, according to reports. Some communities are trying to place moratoriums on data centers only to be met with multi-million-dollar lawsuits. The Christian Post reports that there are more than 1,500 new facilities in various stages of development nationwide. Both individuals and communities are expressing concern, while some government bodies are greasing the skids for even more such development. Joining us today, we welcome back Tom DeWeese, president of the American Policy Center. As we have had Tom numerous times in this program, you'll know that he's one of the nation's leading advocates of individual liberty, free enterprise, private property rights, personal privacy, back-to-basics education, and American sovereignty and independence, and protecting our constitutionally guaranteed rights. Tom, thank you for joining us today.
It's always a pleasure, Jim. I love being with you.
So, well, Tom, I'm glad you make yourself available, and you were with us just 4 weeks ago, and we were discussing this growing concern over the data centers. And I'm not sure about you, but I'm only seeing concern over these centers intensifying across the nation.
I'll tell you, I've said this so many times. I have, in all my years of activism and working with people on the local level and so forth, I have never seen a grassroots movement grow like this one so rapidly and huge and having success. These are individuals living in their communities that are seeing the danger of this, and they are really taking action against it, and in many cases are winning. And I think it's the most exciting thing I've ever seen.
You know, one question that so many people have, Tom, is why are there so many of these data centers needed, and why is there such a surge going on?
Yeah, real quick before I answer that, one of the things that the other side uses against us when we are in opposition, they'll say, you're using your social media to complain about this. This is why we're doing this. No, it's not. We've had social media and stuff on our computers for decades now. We haven't needed monster plants, to handle it all. The fact is that we are moving very rapidly towards a complete control, the digital currency, the digital passports, every single thing you do in your life through AI, who you associate with, where you go, how you travel, where you live, what you buy, all of that. When they have to create data centers or create data pages for every single human being on Earth, that's why they need these monster data centers to handle all of that.
And we talk about the surge because this collection of data is just only intensifying, and you see all the social media and the harvesting of information and people's transactions, Tom, they're stored somewhere.
Well, that's just it, and there's more and more and more of that happening. That I've read reports like, we know we've got cameras all over the place to watch what people are doing up on posts and stuff as you walk down the street. But now the new AI technology in these things allow them to have complete facial recognition. And this stuff goes into files on the cloud, all of that, and they have who you're associating with. And there are now, I've read some things where if they're worried, as they watch people, they're worried about how they operate, how they act, that maybe they're about to commit a crime.
Yeah.
No more innocent until proven guilty.
Right. Tom, again, we're going to get into some of the details, but I want to point out, I just ran to my office and back here, the brand new June 2026 edition of the New American has your article as a cover article, the AI Prison Planet, and a New American magazine saw it so important that you're the top article this month.
Yep, I was very surprised by all that, but happy to have their source to get this out. It's vitally important.
So let's talk about different aspects of this. One of that, which is the aspect of farmland, and Tom, and we're going to cover many aspects, the utility aspect of this as well. But as far as the farmland. We're dependent upon farmland for our food supply, and they keep talking about this worldwide food shortage, and here we are taking vast amounts of farmland for this infrastructure for AI. And I see also that they're talking that farmland is so beneficial because the land is such where it's often flat, it's cleared, it's available in large continuous parcels near power infrastructure and transportation networks. But Tom, we're talking about putting our food supply at risk.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, for several decades, the environmental movement has been telling us that we have to have all of this open space for the air to breathe, for animals to have habitat, and so on and so forth. And also, we've got to preserve the water. And now, first of all, we started covering all of that farmland with solar panels as far as the eye could see, that farmland taken up. Now we're putting it under roof with these monster data centers. And, sure, it's real nice for them. It's already been flattened out and made easy to use by the farmers. And what I find is I deal with this, that farmers are just so intimidated by all of this that they're offered money in these cases for that, but they think, well, I've got to. What can I do? I got to take this, and they think they're alone. And I've been encouraging people all over the country, you've got to get with your farmers and stand with them, let them know they're not alone, and stand up to this and say no.
And as Slay News pointed out, that once farmland is lost, Tom, it rarely returns.
Absolutely, yeah. And something really interesting has come up, that the equipment and so forth in these data centers may only last like a year to 3 years, and then will be burnt out. Now, if the people behind this don't go in and put more money in and kind of rebuild them and so forth, you're going to have all these farms covered with big, huge, empty buildings. What's going to happen with that? What's the financial future of that?
Wow. Let's talk about the electricity demand here. I saw the Epoch Times, and they're reporting that according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, average electricity rates have increased nationwide nearly 13% from April of 2020 to April of 2025. Now, since January of 25, they've increased an additional 6%. They say it's all about supply and demand. And now here's the kicker, Tom. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation projected in its 2026 long-term reliability assessment report that electricity demand will increase in the coming decade by 70% more than what was estimated in 2024. Many analyses find that overall demand will increase 25% by 2030. And to meet this surging demand, major U.S. grid operators must add up to 7,500 miles of high-voltage transmission lines every year. They report that the surge is driven by the development of power-hungry data centers, artificial intelligence computing, advanced manufacturing, and what they call the electrification of everything, the average home featuring up to 21 digital devices all eating electricity at the same time. But, Tom, this surge and the lust for electricity is just off the charts.
It is absolutely unbelievable. And, I mean, you're talking about these data centers that will use the equivalent of millions of homes, one data center or one little complex of them, and that would they ever stop and think when they're doing this? But they don't. They just move forward with it, and now they're denying that that's not really true. We're not really using that much energy or that much water. The whole thing in the 40,000 acre one to be built in Utah. They say that one's going to use as much energy as the entire state of Utah uses, one data center. I mean, this is nuts. And for us, we're standing up and trying to fight against it, and they're saying that our opposition is fake, that it's created by the Chinese. It's just almost laughable, but that's the way they're fighting back.
Yeah, and let me just ask, probe you on that, Tom, because I've seen the reports. The Newsmax had one saying that China is spending billions to stop AI data centers in the United States while they continue to build them out. Is there any truth to that?
I have seen no evidence of that whatsoever. I am working with activists and local organizations all over the country standing up to fight these things, and these are real people who are, sometimes some of them they're building them within hundreds of yards of their house.
Yeah.
And people are standing up. No, you got there in Salt Lake or in Utah, where they're going to build that one. They had hundreds of people attend city council, standing up, going, no, shame. And the 3 city councilmen got and went in another room and did it anyway. And the argument that they use on all this is that this is going to bring huge amounts of jobs, and it's going to really build the economy of the community. There's property taxes that they're going to pay and all that. Mm-hmm. And but the truth of the matter is, first of all, the city councilman in that community in Utah, they said that they didn't have any choice to do this because the state had regulations on everything. They had no choice in it, but we did negotiate certain things for it. My question came up, if you had the power to negotiate those certain deals, what do you mean you don't have any choice?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, Tom, and I know we're not going to go this direction here, but there's a nexus I want to bring up here as well, because amidst this growth of data centers, here is one of the utilities that serves our area is We Energies. And they just put out a promotion about getting rewards if you have a smart thermostat. Get $50 for the first year, receive $25 every year thereafter. When energy demands are high, we slightly adjust your thermostat to reduce demand. You maintain control, and you can override the thermostat changes. But Tom, there is a nexus between these smart thermostats, and they're taking control and raising your temperature, whatever it may be, and this thirst for electricity.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been warning for years about smart meters on your home. Why were they pushing so hard to put those on there? And we knew, and we've been saying this, that the reason is, as they push forward with the whole smart growth program and the environmental controls over everything, that this is how they control your energy use. Mm-hmm. And now, saying this and then saying that, well, you can override it. No, you can't. Those smart meters, they control, and they reduce the amount of energy that you use by the regulations or the forces in power who want to control all this. They're the ones in power. You lose it, and you'll have no energy.
Tom DeWeese is with us today on Crosstalk from the American Policy Center. A quick break here, and friends, we'll come back to more. And we wanted to get into this aspect about people who are standing up, people in communities, even counties and cities that are saying, not in our backyard. Tom DeWeese with us today. We'll be back in 1 minute. This is Crosstalk on VCY America.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, what were the flying dinosaurs?
Chris, the flying reptiles like the pterodactyls were not really dinosaurs. By definition, dinosaurs walked on land with bones different from the flying reptiles, but they're often in the same discussion, usually as being huge reptiles from the great age of reptiles. Of course, I disagree with the term age of reptiles. I think all animals were created during Creation Week. Flying animals on day 5 and land animals on day 6. But, there's a lot of evidence that these flying reptiles lived at the same time as humans. Sober historians of yesteryear described such beasts and even drew pictures of them. And the American Indians even drew pictures of the thunderbird, and their drawings are similar to the pteranodon. Make no mistake, Chris, the evidence fits the back-to-Genesis truth of recent creation of all things.
Thanks, Dr. Morris. For more on creation, visit our website at www.icr.org.
This is Crosstalk on VCY America. Tom DeWeese back with us just 4 weeks ago here on Crosstalk, talking about the concern over data centers, and now that concern is only intensifying. Tom, some wonder how is all of this funded? I mean, the thirst for water, the thirst for electricity, the massive building out of these things. What's the funding source?
Well, we've got a quote from Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, who is one of the major corporations putting all this through, and he's talking about how, if we are going to be the world leader in AI, it will take trillions of dollars to invest in it, and this will make a more dynamic economy. But he says the money, they don't have the money in their pockets, so where's it going to come from? The money must come from savings accounts, investment accounts, and private money. That it's going to be mandatory, and we're talking mostly by dividends or maybe interest rates or whatever, setting something up where we have to pay for all this, so 10% here, we'll take that from you. You're going to pay for it, is where it comes down to. And what's interesting is that, as I mentioned earlier about this data center burnout usage in 1 to 3 years, and they have to reinvest and put it all in there, and how all that would be replaced. And one of the things these data center companies are doing is taking some of the expenses of the data centers off of their books and putting them in some other little separate little business name or something. So they're when they're on the internet, I mean on the investments. People are looking at investments online. Well, they look profitable. Mm-hmm. They do that, but they're not.
Tom, it's not, and I'm not saying this is it, but it's not beyond the thought of adding this little tax onto every one of our utility bills, just like they have that, that federal universal service fund fee that's on there and different regulatory charges. So they put on so many cents per each bill or something of that nature that adds up. I'm not saying that is the game plan here, but very well could come about that way.
Well, I would say the answer to that, nothing's off the table.
Yeah,
they're determined to do this, and we have to understand who's behind this and why this is all being done. And I've said it over and over, and I just said earlier that tracing every single thing, controlling everything in the whole world, all of civilization controlled on these computers, and there is no hope of a free society, and you certainly aren't going to make America great again if this is what's ruling.
But you have some government leaders that are all in for this. I'm looking at a Milwaukee Journal Sentinel article of our own governor, Tony Evers, last September. Tom, he was talking about the jobs being created. It's creating good family-sustaining union jobs across the entire region, from carpenters and plumbers and electricians, and promoting it that way. I think wasn't it Governor Josh Shapiro has been promoting this, and there have been tax incentives given to these data centers to come into their states?
Yeah, and several things happen with that. First of all, there are some temporary jobs that are created in building them, but then they've been promising that these are the center is going to create jobs, people working in the center. Doesn't happen. It's a tiny little amount of people they have working there, and so it doesn't create a massive job influx when they build that. The other thing is that they say it's going to bring in property taxes. Oh, that'll really help with everything. Then they give them property tax breaks. to bring it in there. So that's
right.
not there.
And again, I talk about the electric power needs here. I am looking at Slate News. They talk about Texas grid operators have uncovered a troubling new threat to America's power infrastructure as explosive growth in AI data centers and crypto mining operations pushes the electrical grid toward uncharted territory. New findings from the Electric Reliability Council of Texas reveal that enormous clusters of data centers and crypto facilities could abruptly disconnect from the grid during routine disturbances, potentially triggering cascading failures and widespread blackouts. For those who say, Tom, that there's no extra power needs, it's just, just alarmists that are saying that, the facts speak otherwise.
They do. And the other thing is that they're going to run into a copper shortage because of all the wiring that is required by all of this. That's another one that I've seen.
Oh.
So there's just nothing in this makes a lick of sense for anything that they are working to put it together. And then where do you start to get reason involved in this?
Right. Tom, there are communities that are standing up to this, and I know that there are, I just did a quick look here, the other side of our state, Vernon County Circuit Court, a suit was filed. Wisconsin residents are suing the companies planning to construct the state's highest voltage transmission lines across the Driftless area, beautiful area in the state of Wisconsin, but this massive, running lines across from Minnesota to Wisconsin across the Mississippi River. There is also places like Dane County, Wisconsin, that are putting in moratoriums. Other cities are doing that, and there are places who have put in a moratorium, but this is now out of Texas. The Hill County Commissioners Court has voted to rescind a moratorium after an affected company filed a $100 million suit against the county.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do to any of this opposition. The opposition is building, like I said, I've never seen opposition build like this on anything so fast and so vast. Well, they're going to, there's a lot of power and money involved here, and they're not going to just roll over and say, oh, well, we tried. They're going to come after them like that, and the cities will start to cave in. But we've got to get elected officials who will stand up. You can win the suit against them. The heck with their $1 billion lawsuits or whatever. You can prove why you did it and stand up to them. Take the offense instead of sitting there going, oh, golly gee, they're going to sue us. That doesn't mean they're going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've got, Bill and Melinda Gates that is committing a lot of money to some of this open source identity platform and digital ID. That's all tied into this too, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's the whole point. They're moving so rapidly to get the digital ID, the passports, digital passports. I think I mentioned the last time I was on that China has put gates or fences across certain sections of like a large city. And if you want to go to the other side of that gate and the other side of the town, you've got to go through a gate. And to get through the gate, you've got to show your chip, which is probably in your arm, which has everything about you in there. Are you a good, decent citizen or not? If you aren't, you can't get through. This is Bill Gates said that if we don't go to this digital ID, that Americans are going to be tossed out of society. That's what they mean. If you don't go along with it, if you don't have the right chip, if you don't, they don't have all your information, they don't know who you are, then you're going to be thrown out of society.
Tom DeWeese with us today. Tom, people are standing up, and that many people just say, I'm one person, what can I do?
Well, this is what we're seeing happen is one person. I'll tell you what, if you go on Facebook and you do a search of anti-data center things, you would not believe how many come up in communities all over the country. And if you're just one person thinking, I need to do something about this, start to search out, talk to your neighbors. They've got data centers that are building right next to schools. They've got them building right in the middle of community neighborhoods on there, and you find out the information on how these are affecting the environment, how they're affecting the health of people. That's all there. There's information there. Get that information out to other people in the community. You begin to build, an opposition to it.
Friends, we're going to give some extended time on the phones with Tom DeWeese here today because the last time Tom was on, we had little time for calls, and there are a lot of people who wanted to ask questions, and we want to give you that opportunity today. Our number to crosstalk is 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. Now, Tom, you've got information on these and so many other topics on your website as well, correct?
Absolutely. Our website, AmericanPolicy.org, and we've got a 35-year archive on there of articles we've written all about the radical environmental movement, the attacks on private property, education, personal privacy, and now the data centers pulls it all together. And so we've got all information on all that you can get.
Yeah. And friends, also, if you want to find out where these data centers are, there is a website, and you can just look at it. I did it right before Crosstalk today, datacentersmap.com, datacentersmap.com, and you can put in your state, and there's a map that pops up. I found in Wisconsin, for instance, 53 data centers from 10 markets in Wisconsin. 31 of those centers are right here in southeast Wisconsin. And, Tom, I know that these things are proliferating, and Virginia has been at the forefront of this. Texas has also been at the forefront. I mean, these things are going up all over the place.
Absolutely. And, Virginia, right by where I live, there are about 20-some of these things in there. And, it's just unbelievable to see what used to be good farmland, rural areas. I'm originally from Ohio, and a few weeks ago I went back to my home county, Licking County, Ohio. That is where New Albany, Ohio is, and the data centers there. The center of everything in Ohio is right there. And what used to be a very, very rural area of good, beautiful farmland are now massive data centers. And as you were talking, I were talking earlier, driving by these things, it takes you forever to drive by one data center because they're so huge. And I said jokingly that somewhere you have to take a lunch break in the middle, get from one end to the other. Yeah. This is nuts to do this and destroy the farmland and the what we, as you said, what we need to eat.
Right. And friends, our lines are packed already. Let's begin with Kim in Surprise, Arizona. Kim, you're on the air.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I am with a opposition group and have been since last August, a major data center here. I just want you to know that we have sent letters, we have stood in front of boards, we have done everything, even writing the government, and we're getting excuse after excuse and approval after approval. And this is an 800 or 700 megawatt power plant that goes along with the 2 million square foot data center. And we just are at the end of our rope trying to figure out who is the next person that we can contact.
Wow.
Because the EPA has thrown us off. Our government officials don't even bother with us.
Yeah, thank you. Tom?
Let me ask you this. Do you have all the information on the data center, how big it is, you got ideas on how it's going to affect your community and everything? And do you have quotes from your local officials there who have turned you down or ignored you, anything like that?
Yes, we do.
What I suggest you do is that you put together a flyer, not a big detailed thing, but one with certain points, and have the quotes, have the photographs of these elected officials who have ignored you, and start delivering those door to door. The number one thing they cannot stand is a spotlight on them to show what they're doing, and they are getting massive pressure from these builders on these things. They've got to feel the pressure from you that way. Expose them.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have put out over thousands of flyers as well.
Great. Thank you, Kim, for the call. We're up against a break. We'll be back with Tom DeWeese with more of your phone calls in just a moment. Our number to crosstalk, 800-733-9829.
George Washington said, It is impossible to rightly govern the world without God and the Bible. Andrew Jackson said, "That book, sir, is the rock upon which our republic rests." Theodore Roosevelt said, "A thorough knowledge of the Bible is worth more than a college education." These and over 2,000 other direct quotations revealing the godly heritage of America can be found in America's God and Country Encyclopedia of Quotations by William Federer. This volume of over 800 pages cites founding fathers, presidents, statesmen, state constitutions, and court decisions. This reference tool is available in softcover for a donation of $35 or hardcover for $45 to VCY America. Call 1-800-729-9829. 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. Tom DeWeese with us today from the American Policy Center. His website, AmericanPolicy.org. AmericanPolicy.org. And friends, if you want to stay informed on so many critical issues, if you go right to his website on the main page, you see a big blue box that says Stay Informed, sign up for our updates. You put in your name, your email address, and you hit submit. You're not going to be bombarded with all kinds of gibberish, but friends, you'll be informed on many, many different issues that American Policy Center has been engaged with, and this is one of those many issues. You'll see right on their homepage the political hot potato, AI data centers. You'll see also on affordable fair housing, the swamp alligator that must be removed, other issues as well that impact private property rights and free enterprise and so forth. So AmericanPolicy.org, you can go to his blue box there at the top, put in your email address, and you'll be part of those being kept informed. Let's go to Kevin in Tomah, Wisconsin. Kevin, you're on the air.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I'll try to keep it brief. I know there's a lot of comments. I just wanted to say that we, as the people, are partially responsible for this problem. It's because of supply and demand. And people ask, what can we do as individuals? Well, I would suggest that we start using books again at the library, get rid of all the cameras and using Google as a verb and all this stuff that's requiring data. If we lower the demand, then they won't have to, supply it as much. You understand?
Yeah, and what's interesting when you couple that though with, look how many places now. You got businesses who no longer hand out circulators with their ads. You have to go to our website. You have to go to this. You have to get our app, and also there are businesses that have certain charge cards. You'll have to have an electronic payment, or you're going to have a surcharge every month if you get the paper yet coming your way. So
the last thing I want to do is defend, BlackRock or any of these capitalists who are, supplying a need. But if we drop the need, then I think they'll have to think twice about growing so fast.
Thank you, Kevin, for the call. Tom, any response?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm speaking, I jokingly say my next major project is to get rid of the Internet, and I get the loudest applause of the night. But just one thing here. First of all, I agree with you about, the different way to live and all of that. But a major part of this and the reason for the monstrous data centers and so forth, as we said earlier, is government using this power to create a surveillance society. So it's way more beyond just what we're doing on our own, because we've been doing that for a long time without these data centers, using our computers and our social media and so forth. So that's what we've got to make sure we stop, is this surveillance society.
Christina's next. Hi, Christine, you're on the air.
Hi. I'm out here stumping for a candidate in Wisconsin, and I'm going to say Jim, Tom, Tiffany, I hope they all vote, who's trying to dial back the AI data centers. Everything. He's talked about everything. China, buying up our farmland, all of it, all the things that you have stated. But yet I'm out here with individuals who oppose those things, but yet no matter what, they're going to vote Democrat. And I'll tell you something, I hope you folks are praying for Wisconsin, because the ignorance is so profound, it's willing ignorance. And they literally want these things that you have said, but they're going to vote the other way no matter what. Yeah. So we got a huge problem. But, hey, thank you for everything you're doing, and I hope that Tom Tiffany can succeed here in Wisconsin.
Thank you, Christine. And Tom, your comment there.
Well, one of the notes that I made in preparation for today was if the Republicans would come out and oppose these data centers, and so it'd be a major election issue, and we've got huge support for them. But who knows if they will? I've seen nothing but incompetence coming out of Republican leadership over a bunch of issues lately. So, but it would be a huge thing for them to do if they would come out and stand up against these, and people like your callers and so forth would be right there to vote for.
I've seen some articles like 70% of the people being against these centers.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what more do you need to know when you're running for office?
Maria is calling from Indiana. Maria, you're on the air.
Yes, I'm just wondering, I know President Trump has been an advocate of AI in different ways and stuff, but is he fully aware of everything that you guys are talking about on this program, of the damage that this is doing and all the people that are opposed to it? And if so, if he could at some point, would this fall under the situation where he could make an executive order or something to outlaw, to not allow this stuff, or is this something that would have to go through Congress, or how could this be handled on the federal level?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and you just want to wonder why would he do this? He is absolutely surrounded by these forces behind AI, and he has been convinced that is the way to go. We've got to do this to make sure that we've got the control over China, that we are ahead and they aren't, that China can't, the whole argument we said earlier that the country that's leading in AI will lead the world. And he's bought into that, and he did an executive order doing exactly the opposite of what you said. He did an executive order telling states that they can't pick and choose certain things on AI. It's got to be a unified force moving forward, which means they can't protect your property rights and that sort of thing. He has been absolutely wrong on this issue, and it's very disappointing. And again, we have got to make him feel our pressure and overcome somehow these guys who are stroking his ego to get him to continue to do this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the call. Tom, is there any connection with these data centers and all that's going on with another warning that we've given about central bank digital currency? Totally
connected. That's why they need these monster sizes and stuff, everything being digitally connected. You've got digital money, the digital passports, but now we got digital cars, basically, the stuff that they're doing with the cars to read everything that you're doing and control the shut-off switch and all that sort of thing. That's all computer-generated and goes through these data centers.
We've got Al calling next. Hi, Al, you're on the air.
Thanks for my call. It's just in regards to a lady I called a few callers ago. Up in Port Washington, they're building a very big data center. There was enough outrage that they were able to they were doing 24-hour-a-day construction, and they were able to somehow get it knocked down, I think, from the number of complaints to have certain limits on the hours. Mm-hmm. Just a word of encouragement for her. It's a tough challenge. I do construction. I actually worked at one in Racine and Mount Pleasant down there, but definitely a challenge.
Great. Thank you, Al, for that. And Tom, let's just talk about this disruption. I mean, there is such a fast pace trying to get these centers up. Some have indeed, and they're in residential areas working 24/7. You think about the loud construction noises that happen, and that's disrupted many people's lives, let alone not only that, but so many, and I mentioned this on the last program too, are talking about a hum coming from these centers.
Yeah, I've heard recordings, people walking by them. They hear these hums all over. There's a noise pollution that goes on. There's also a whole lot of lights there. So at night there's a light pollution in your neighborhood where, you want to sit out in your yard and have a barbecue and whatever. And this is all disrupting that. So, where is the environmental movement that told us for 30 years that we had to have all this as open space, protect the water, protect the air? Where are they? that that I have said for 30 years that they are a hypocritical fake, that this had nothing to do with protecting the environment. It had to do with them gaining political power. Well, use some of that political power now and do something to protect the environment.
John is our next caller from Williams Bay. You're on the air, John.
Well, thank you so much. I'll be as brief as I can. When they first started taking farmland for solar panels, I thought, why on earth won't they use all the grass along the superhighways?
You mean like the medians?
They can do the same thing with the AI. The government wants to do it. Okay, let them give the AI people tax-free to build on top of the superhighways, and when they get rid of the building, then the next person on it has to pay.
Okay.
That way the government is paying for everything. You're not taking any farmland, and you're using area that's not being used.
You're saying build above the highways?
You're talking about the solar panels, aren't you?
Okay. The solar panels.
No, the solar panels,
yeah.
When they first did the solar panels, they're taking our farmland. Why wouldn't they build on the grass?
I'll tell you what, I have seen a lot of different people saying something about that, build them in the parking lots, over the highways, things like that. The truth of the matter is, if you did do that, you would be living in a tunnel. Everywhere you go, you'd have solar panels over the top of you. Yeah. And the truth is, if we had all the solar panels that they say we need all over this country, you would only have about 10%, if that much, of the energy that we need in the first place, because they don't produce the energy that they say they do. And so, they'll destroy the cities then instead of the farms.
Thank you, John, for the call. Let's go to Sam next. Hi, Sam. You're on the air.
Yeah, enjoying the conversation, gentlemen. Say, Tom, it was refreshing to hear you of all the excitement from the grassroots activists. And maybe it's time to put out a challenge in there for America that we all just turn off our phones for 24 hours and challenge ourselves to do that and see what effect that would have.
Yeah, I'll tell you, just telling people what the challenge is of the, what these are doing to their communities and the culture of their community and everything else has been enough. But I know what you're saying. The argument that they use, though, is that those of us who are fighting this are doing it over our computers and over our phones and all that, and how hypocritical that is. But the fact, as I said earlier, we've had the phones and we've had the social media and everything, and without the data centers, that doesn't require it. It's all the other stuff that they're trying to do, the digital money and the digital passports and all that.
Yeah, the tracking. Thank you for the call.
Right.
The tracking, and Tom, when we think about the number of clicks one person does, and when you talk about medical records in some place, all those things are stored in bank account transactions. Everything else, I mean, everything is being housed, and people are being certainly pushed for more and more and more. And it's this surveillance aspect that has it draws a great concern.
I'll tell you one thing that people could do if they want to, do a challenge here. Start using cash for everything that you're buying as much as you can, instead of the credit cards, instead of using your accounts that way, your online accounts to do it. I've had several people talk to me about that, and so you've got stores now that are starting to become non-cash, and they need to start feeling some heat from that, and have them start taking it. Cash is the center of personalization, personal privacy of what you buy, what you own.
We've got Rylan calling from Watertown. Rylan, you're on the air.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. So I, as a young teenager, want to go into agricultural sciences, and kind of as a teenager seeing all this farmland just disappearing, what can I do as a young teenager to help spread the word?
Wow. Thank you, Ryland. I tell you what, we're 5 seconds from the break. We'll take the break, and we'll have Tom come back on that. Thank you for the call. Tom DeWeese is with us today. I'm a teenager. What can I do? I want to get into agriculture, and I see all of this disappearing before us. Tom will address that issue following the break. This is Crosstalk coming your way from VCY America. Our telephone number, 800-733-9829.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. I've been studying through the book of Daniel on Sunday nights. We got to Daniel chapter 6. And you know what I noticed? Daniel was someone that regularly prayed 3 times a day, as was his custom to do since early days. And I thought, that's interesting. Since early days. Now, we know he was taken into captivity as a teenager, and so he clearly had some very godly parents and influence. But he was also being influenced by people like Solomon, because when I heard that he was practicing his prayers 3 times a day as an early child, I thought he clearly was reading Solomon. So I went and I studied some of the things Solomon talked about. And you know what I came up with? I came up with 16 things that Solomon says that the young people should do. And Daniel was doing every one of them. Folks, I highly urge you to study the advice given by Solomon to our young people today. They need it more than ever.
This is Crosstalk on VCY America. Tom DeWeese with us here today, and our number 800-733-9829. Tom's website, americanpolicy.org, and stay informed. Just put your email address in the blue box at the top of the page there, and send that on to him, and he will keep you informed on issues just like this. So, Tom, we had a teenager call here just before the break and just said, hey, I'm a teen. I want to get involved in agriculture. I see this farmland disappearing. What can I do? How can I make this known?
Let me tell you, I am so excited to hear from you, because this is a major development that we've got to move forward on. I've been talking to a whole lot of folks I work with, saying we've got to get the young people involved. And what we have found, I know you guys are victims of what has happened, not knowing a lot of things that some of us older ones knew because we were taught differently in school and so forth, and how to move forward. But the main thing to do now to start is start talking to your friends, get some info. We need to get some information together that you can maybe pass out or something. Talk about their future. Where's your food going to be coming from? What are you going to do? How about your home? I know there are young people now who are afraid to get married. They're afraid to date. They're afraid to have children. They can't buy a home. And all of this stuff we're talking about today is the reason for that. And so we need to be able to get that information out to them, and you can begin to organize. If you began to go to city councils as a group of young people and bring this up, you would have a huge impact on the they are not expecting that, and that would be a concern to them, and they've got to feel your pressure as well.
We have Bonnie calling from Tucson, Arizona. Bonnie, you're on the air.
Hi, I just wanted to make a remark about the jobs that these things are going to create, because what I heard is there will be no jobs in those centers. There'll be AIs, and that's who will be running them, and they'll just have to have people that will keep them up to date on things. So that was my comment. Also, the copper mine that they're taking down right now at Santa Rita, they're just taking down another mountain. Arizona has copper mines, and they just take those mountains down and make big, ugly hills out of them, and the air quality is terrible.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is awful, and thank you for letting me say
Thank you,
that.
Bonnie.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, absolutely right. Everything that you said, and the copper issue is going to become a major one, because they need that for the wiring and everything, and they're going to find shortages with that, and they just don't seem to care what they do to the local communities to destroy your culture and how you live, and they just it's all about them.
Yeah, and these buildings will not be filled with people who are going daily to their job either. There's construction jobs going on right now, but these buildings will not be filled with workers.
Yeah. One other thing that they're doing, they're getting city councils to sign non-disclosure agreements so that you don't know the details, you don't know the facts. They're talking about it behind the scenes, and until it's done, you don't know, or it's already started and moving. You can't stop it. And that is, where is representative government? Who do these local elected officials represent? Private corporations, or you who vote for them? That's the question you've got to start asking them.
Jim is calling next here in Milwaukee. Jim, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. I heard that China is pouring in billions of dollars to stop us from building these centers. Could it be a national security risk if we don't build them?
No. We've said about this already on here. That is not true. That is happening. I am working with activists all over the country. These are real, live people and none of them have had any experience that I've run into with anything from China. They can put out information and stuff, but I do know of somebody who is putting out this information that he's been paid $15 million by George Soros to do it.
Right.
So there's probably the source of some of that money. But all these activists that I've been working with all over the country, or that I know about, nobody's gotten any money from China. China hasn't been involved at all. It's them, the citizens, that have been standing up to this.
Thank you for the call, Jim. John is next. You're on the air, John.
Thank you for taking my call. And maybe I missed this earlier if you talked about it, but I was wondering what your opinion was on these data centers as far as in empowering the Antichrist and the end-time prophecy.
Thank you.
Because Revelation tells us that even the elect could be fooled. Yeah. So I was wondering if you thought that he would be tapping into this information and use it against us, or what your opinion was there.
Sure, and Tom is not a theologian as such. It's not part of his repertoire, but I will say Revelation chapter 13 does talk about one Antichrist who will require this mark, like a universal identification system whereby one will not be able to buy or sell without having that mark. And that's the data centers, Tom, are pushing for that universal identification and control over one's, really, their health, finances, every aspect.
Yeah, absolutely, and there are definitely connections there. You can see it, and this is an absolute destruction of human society if they are allowed to put all this stuff in place.
Thank you, John. Stacy is next in Lubbock, Texas. You're on the air, Stacy.
Yes, I'm a student going to college. I'm 47 years old, and I'm having a tough time with my studies as it is. But the conflict of interest that I'm finding that I think the teachers and students are up against is we're taught to utilize tools as far as technology and Word 365, and it kind of conflicts with, I guess, Copilot had just updated to make us utilize AI as a form of corrective spell. And it's kind of, I don't know if the school knows about it, but as the teachers are teaching, they're telling us that it's plagiarism to type something as we're researching it.
Yeah.
And so,
Stacy, I'm going to have to cut you off because we're down to 20 seconds. I want Tom to respond to you. Any response here?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I said earlier that the students today are victims of all of this because this education system is one of the tools that this global agenda is using to make sure that their system is put in place, and our system of freedom that our founding fathers created for us, that the Bible tells us we should have, they are the enemy of that, and they're working to get rid of it. And these students, they're using them to make them tools. That's so students stand up and tell them no.
Tom DeWeese, our guest today. Tom, thank you for carving out the hour and joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope we can, write to us at our website. If you need something, we'll do everything we can to help you.
AmericanPolicy.org is the site, AmericanPolicy.org. God bless you, friends. Thanks for joining us today on Crosstalk.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208. Or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.